Consider a city so central, so strategically placed, that controlling it meant unlocking the road to one of the most sacred places on earth, Jerusalem. That city was Gaza. In the year 1187, during a time when the Crusader presence cast a long shadow over the Holy Lands, one Muslim leader rose with unmatched clarity of purpose. Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, known in the West as Saladin, led a campaign that would not only reclaim territory, but also restore dignity to a fractured ummah. Among his many brilliant victories, the conquest of Gaza stood out as a masterclass in strategy, patience, and wisdom. This was not just a military maneuver. It was a decisive moment in Islamic history. While many recall the liberation of Jerusalem, few know the story of how Gaza, the gateway to the Holy City, was taken without mass bloodshed, without destruction, and with a sense of purpose rooted in faith. This is not a tale of conquest for glory, but for justice. It is a reminder that Muslim history is filled with stories where courage met compassion, and where leadership was defined not just by power, but by principle. Today we return to the sands of Palestine, to uncover how this one act of tactical brilliance opened the gates to one of the most significant victories in Islamic memory. This is the untold story of the conquest of Gaza by Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, a moment that would reshape the future of the Holy Lands forever. To understand the significance of Saladin's conquest of Gaza, we must first appreciate the city's immense historical and strategic weight. Gaza, known in Arabic as Gaza, is one of the oldest inhabited cities in the world, with a legacy stretching back over 5,000 years. It was more than just a city. It was a crossroads of empires, a vital link on the ancient trade route that connected the Mediterranean with the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean beyond. Caravans carrying spices, silk, and precious goods flowed through Gaza, making it a hub of wealth and influence across centuries. This made Gaza not only a commercial jewel, but also a strategic prize. Whoever controlled Gaza had influence over trade, travel, and the tides of power in the region. By the mid-12th century, Gaza had fallen under Crusader control. In 1149, King Baldwin III of Jerusalem fortified the city, turning it into a military outpost that served as a bulwark against Muslim forces coming from the south. These fortifications were more than just walls. They were a statement of intent. The Crusaders were there to stay, and Gaza would be their shield. But the winds of change were already stirring. In Egypt, a new force was rising. Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, originally of Kurdish origin, had become vizier of the Fatimid Caliphate in 1169, at just 31 years old. But his ambitions were never personal. They were guided by a greater vision: the unity of the Muslim world. Under the mentorship and legacy of Nur ad-Din Zang, the ruler of Syria and a staunch defender of Sunni Islam, Saladin began to consolidate power across Muslim lands. After the death of Nur ad-Din, Saladin gradually assumed control over both Egypt and Syria, bringing the fragmented Muslim world under a single banner. This unification was not just political, it was deeply spiritual. The Muslim world had long been fractured by internal divisions and weakened by external aggression. Saladin's leadership offered something different: a revival of Islamic unity based on justice, mercy, and strategic brilliance. As he looked toward reclaiming Jerusalem, he knew the route had to pass through Gaza. Its location made it the gateway to Palestine, and leaving it in Crusader hands was a risk he could not afford. Thus, in the broader campaign to liberate Al-Quds, the conquest of Gaza was not a footnote. It was a turning point. The stage was now set, and history was about to change forever. After uniting Egypt and Syria under one banner, Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi turned his gaze toward liberating the Holy Lands. The opportunity came in 1187, when the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem made a critical error. On 4th July, Saladin faced the Crusader army at the Battle of Hattin, a clash that would mark a turning point in the Crusades. His forces, disciplined and driven by purpose, encircled the Crusaders near Lake Tiberias, cutting them off from water and supplies. The result was a crushing Muslim victory. The Crusader ranks were decimated, their knights taken captive, and the road to Jerusalem lay wide open. But Saladin, ever the strategist, knew the importance of securing the coastline and eliminating Crusader strongholds before striking at the heart. Among these, Gaza stood as a key target. Its position made it a natural gateway to Palestine and a vital logistical point. Recognizing this, King Amalric I hastily redirected his forces toward Darum, another Crusader fortress to the south, withdrawing a significant portion of Gaza's garrison, most notably the Templars. This decision, meant to preserve Darum, left Gaza exposed, vulnerable, and ripe for Saladin's advance. With precision and purpose, Saladin's army, estimated between 20,000 and 30,000 men, marched northward. They arrived outside Gaza's fortified walls and immediately began a systematic siege. But Saladin was not a reckless conqueror. Instead of a brutal assault, he chose a path of wisdom, surrounding the city, cutting off water and supplies, and waiting patiently. His tactics were not only militarily effective, they were morally grounded. He avoided unnecessary bloodshed, understanding that the preservation of life was as important as victory itself. As days passed, the defenders, now cut off and hopelessly outmatched, had no choice but to surrender. Gaza fell, not in flames, but in peace. Saladin's chivalry and justice won him admiration even among his adversaries. Civilians were spared, and the city welcomed his leadership with cautious optimism. Rather than take revenge, Saladin focused on restoring order, safety, and dignity. But he didn't stop there. In 1291, 4 years after its peaceful capture, Saladin ordered the demolition of Gaza's Crusader fortifications. He understood that while mercy was vital, strategic foresight was equally necessary. He ensured Gaza could never again serve as a Crusader foothold. A silent but clear message that the tide had turned, and the era of fragmented Muslim defense had given way to unified, purposeful resistance. In Gaza, Saladin's brilliance as both a commander and a just ruler shined for all to see. The peaceful conquest of Gaza was far more than a military success. It was a defining moment in the moral and strategic legacy of Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi. With Gaza secured, the path to Jerusalem stood open, and the balance of power in the region began to shift dramatically. Only a few months later, on 2 October 1187, Jerusalem, the crown jewel of the Crusader states, surrendered to Saladin. But this victory was not achieved through the brutality that had marked the Crusader invasion decades earlier. Saladin entered the holy city without bloodshed, allowing its Christian residents to remain and even permitting pilgrimages. His actions stunned Europe and earned him deep respect, even from his enemies. But those who had witnessed his earlier conquest of Gaza would not have been surprised. That was where his pattern of justice, restraint, and wisdom had already been clearly demonstrated. The fall of Gaza also sent a powerful message to the broader Muslim world, that unity and strategic patience could overcome even the most entrenched of enemies. It wasn't just about reclaiming territory. It was about restoring dignity to a people who had long suffered under division and foreign domination. Gaza became a symbol of what could be achieved when leadership was guided by faith, foresight, and principle. And yet, Saladin never saw conquest as an end in itself. In 1191, he ordered the demolition of the Crusader fortifications in Gaza, not out of vengeance, but out of strategic necessity. He knew that true peace requires vigilance. Gaza would not be allowed to fall into enemy hands again, and the city was to remain secure under Muslim control, free from becoming a staging ground for future invasions. Saladin's legacy in Gaza serves as a living reminder of what Islamic leadership looks like when grounded in both strength and mercy. His actions embody the timeless hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Indeed, Allah loves that when any one of you does a job, he should perfect it. Al-Bayhaqi. Saladin's perfection lay not in overpowering his enemies, but in outthinking them, in achieving victory while upholding the highest standards of character and justice. Even today, Gaza remains a place of resilience, a city shaped by centuries of struggle and faith. And in its stones, one can still hear echoes of the moment when Salah al-Din's banner rose above its walls, not just as a symbol of military triumph, but as a sign of Islamic revival and unity that would echo through the ages. As we reflect on the conquest of Gaza, we find ourselves looking beyond the dust of battle and the movements of armies. What we truly see is a moment where Islamic leadership met its highest ideals, where justice triumphed without cruelty, and victory was achieved without arrogance. Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi did not march through Gaza as a warlord hungry for power, but as a servant of a greater cause, reviving the Ummah, protecting the sacred, and fulfilling a trust passed down through centuries of revelation and sacrifice. The story of Gaza is not just a chapter in military history. It is a lesson in character, a demonstration of how faith and strategy can work in harmony when guided by sincerity. Saladin's ability to unify hearts and lands, to balance the sword with the pen, and to restrain the hand when the heart demanded mercy. This is what made him a model for generations to come. He did not conquer for self-glory, but to remove oppression and open a path for truth to flourish. In every decision, he reflected the prophetic model of leadership, one rooted in humility, mercy, and tawakkul, trust in Allah. Today, Gaza continues to symbolize resilience in the face of hardship. Its soil, soaked in history, reminds us that the struggles of the past are not just to be remembered, they are to be learned from. As Muslims, we are called not only to admire the past, but to live its values. Saladin's conquest teaches us that victory comes with unity, that justice must be paired with wisdom, and that power, when guided by taqwa, God consciousness, becomes a tool of healing, not destruction. Let this story be a reminder that true strength lies not only in the armies we build, but in the hearts we purify and the intentions we set. If you've been inspired by the legacy of Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, subscribe for more stories that bring the golden chapters of our history to life. And tell us in the comments, what lesson from this story do you carry forward? The Quran reminds us, "And we have sent you not, O Muhammad, but as a mercy to the worlds." Surah Al-Anbiya 21:107. Salah al-Din reflected that mercy in every step of his campaign. May Allah raise leaders among us who carry that same light. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.